All right, well, let's kick this off quickly so we can get to the topic. Welcome, everybody. And there we go. I'm going to take this out. Nobody talk online unless you don't want me to understand for 5 minutes. Welcome to the March meeting of the Dallas Salesforce Developer User Group. I think we're one of the most active and longest running user groups in the country. I think we were one of the first 40 to start out. Moyez started this a while ago. I don't see Moyez on yet, but I'm watching to see if he's going to be here. He handed this over to me right around the time COVID started. We ran virtual through COVID, and this is, I think, our 1-year anniversary back in person. Gratefully due to UTD allowing us to host and kind of live here. So thank you, Dr. Bose, as their representative. And if you want to get in touch with me, those are my contact informations. I'm usually pretty responsive on LinkedIn. I'm trying to get better at Slack. I'm on Ohana Slack, but I just haven't figured out how to work another social platform into my day-to-day life. But if I can be of any service, please let me know, and let me know where you know me from and part of the community, and I'd be glad to help. We are run by Stack Champions, which have been, and kind of people go in and out of these roles. But if you're interested in participating with the group and using that as a way to learn, which is what I do, I'm dumb, and when I want to learn something, I find somebody to speak about it. So I'm lucky to be in a cool network of user group leaders and know some MVPs that know a lot of stuff. And if we want to learn about that, I am happy to get them on a call, either virtually or in person, and help you get in touch with them. Have that contact, have that information, and get some context into the group. What I like to do is break it up into active topics. And if you want to help bring a topic, this isn't necessarily for you to speak, but to help make sure that this group has these topics represented. So I could use some help finding good content, finding people that are speaking about something that you would think would be interesting for this group to hear. So if you want to help me with that, that's how you can do that. Jade is not going to be here today. Priyanka Karate is here. Did I pronounce that at least close to right? Okay, close. Our student outreach, she is the lead of the UTD student developer group, or student Salesforce student group. I can't talk. I really hate public speaking. I just make myself do it a lot. I have Nathan Shulman listed up there for LWC. I think we probably need to lean into AI, so I put something up there. I cover flows as much as possible. I'm a flownatic, and I will probably be doing more with integrations as we go forward. We used to have a regular speaker, Waqas Nasir, who runs the company DigiSec, which was a security consulting, and he used to be able to come in and give us a 10-minute or so security update. I'll have to reach back out to him and see if he's not busy anymore and can rejoin. I don't have a cute Twitter thing anymore, but here's some of the people that you can follow online. If you're part of that, a lot of the Salesforce news and information goes out over Twitter. So finding the right people to follow is kind of a big deal. And will help with your learning. So if you've got any other questions about who to follow and where the information comes from, please let me know. I need to update that slide. I wrote a book. Everybody hears about it. I try not to plug it too much in here, but I literally wrote the book on Salesforce architecture, at least one of them. It's not very much use to anybody that knows Salesforce very well. It's mostly for bringing people in to Salesforce from other technology stacks. So if you hear of anybody needing to do that, please recommend it. If not, you're going to hear from me here, and I can tell you whatever's in the book. So don't bother buying it. I do have some new and newsworthy stuff. I am going to pull up. Let me make sure I'm with the rest of my slides. I didn't see Moyez join. So I got to go to TDX 2 weeks ago, and that was exciting. TDX is the Dreamforce for technologists. It is not customer facing. It's not just focused on customers and buyers and decision makers. It's really just focused on the technology. There's some of the technology sessions talking about code inside of Dreamforce. TDX is all technical topics. There's very little fluff or user demos or anything like that. They're a customer-oriented company. They're about sales. Dreamforce is a big marketing event. I love it. I've spoken at Dreamforce 4 times now, but I think I probably won't go to Dreamforce again because TDX was really good. I'm usually exhausted by Dreamforce, and I was just caffeinated through the whole thing. And there was nothing boring, and you were able to hop around stuff. It was also just in one building, which was nice. Wasn't all of San Francisco, which is what Dreamforce is like. But let me pull up these slides from TDX and just go through them really quickly. And you'll have to forgive me while I go through and share and reshare. Asynchronous callbacks. I'm just going to speed through these slides. If you see anything interesting, let me know. This isn't my content, but I thought I'd share some of the nerd geekery that goes on at TDX. Captured some slides, and I had a great time. So some new Snowflake compatibility. Snowflake will have a big part of the enterprise connectivity picture with Salesforce. Snowflake is a data lake. It's made for storing very raw data from your systems or pretty raw data from your systems and being able to share that to different applications. So if your personnel database needs to be fed to other cloud systems, one of the more successful patterns would be to put that up in Snowflake, have Tableau connect or a reporting system connect to Snowflake, have another payroll system connect to Snowflake. You distribute, it becomes a point of distribution for your data. Salesforce has been living kind of in the Rolodex contact management, customer relationship management space, but to actually connect to other enterprise systems, this is one of the big maturity spaces. It was really my vote for next to be acquired by Salesforce. I think a lot of the back-end technology for Data Cloud, which is something that they're pushing really loudly, Data Cloud and AI was what everything was on Snowflake, at TDX. But Snowflake will probably be that kind of enterprise cloud positioned central database, the hub of operations to which Salesforce would be coming in, writing data and consuming data from it. So if you're wanting to do enterprise projects or learn how big projects will be using it, this is going to be a good resource. Our friend of our group, Joyce Avila, wrote the book, the O'Reilly book on Snowflake, and she runs the Snowflake user group here. So another good place to go and talk to, and she's in the middle of writing a book on Data Cloud. So I'm pretty sure there's some pretty good overlap between Data Cloud and Snowflake that's worth taking a look at and taking advantage of. Looks like better support for named credentials. There's a little bit of clunkiness. I haven't seen a big problem with doing high-level big name Okta to Salesforce or Identity Federation, but some of the varieties of systems out there may have some different quirks around OAuth that they're apparently getting better. Basic auth, which is just kind of a plain text username and password they would never support. It's not strong enough, so they've apparently found a way to consume that. Please don't use basic auth on anything. If you hear basic auth, run away. This is a second-gen packaging. So that anybody doing anything with building managed packages, there's a new thought process and ecosystem around that. Security improvements to Sandbox. Okay, that's good. Sandboxes are a little bit of a security void with Salesforce 8. And with what data they clone down into sandboxes being a little bit tricky. And if you want to secure your main production with SSO, sandboxes, it's kind of hard to also secure with SSO, and they end up using a lot of individual named credentials, and you copy a lot of production data down to those less secure sandboxes. So this is an important step if you've got sensitive data in your org and you want to code against it or build things in sandboxes. All right, that's that one. All right, hopefully everybody online can see these. I'm going through them fairly quickly. I didn't pay much attention to this one. I tried to grab all the slides, but I was too excited to be there. There's some updates in the Salesforce mobile app development. I think they're leaning more into the iPad screen size, which will be a good deal for usability. Right now, the mobile form factor is not fantastic. It's a very muted view of Salesforce data. I have not been a huge fan of any Salesforce mobile stuff unless it's highly customized with LWC, and that's expensive. So adding some more variety to the interface. Hey, that is my wife, and she has brought pizza. So if you guys are hungry, please help yourself to pizza. I have napkins that I forgot to set out. Thank you, thank you.
What kind of pizza?
Wait, are there snacks? I feel so left out.
You missed out.
Where
You
is
can
it
still
from?
get here if you leave now. You'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it's gonna take me a lot longer to get there than snacks.
All right, so
snacks.
mobile app,
I need
mobile app.
snacks.
Updates, mobile app plus, mobile offline access. But if you're interested in any of this stuff, a lot of these sessions are on Salesforce Plus. They're kind of YouTube. So they usually talk about the things that are hot, and things that are hot usually employ people. When stuff's new, it's really easy to get in on the ground floor and make that a career focus. All right, and then the last one is diagramming, which is my favorite. Well-architected framework. So we will have a couple of presentations on this at We Dreamin'. If you're in the area and want to go to a conference, I'm running a conference for Salesforce. There's almost a full AI track. There's a lot on Snowflake and Data Cloud there. Stefan Chandler Garcia is going to be giving the keynote. He's presented to the group a couple of times. He is the architect genius behind most of the TDX and Dreamforce keynotes. He's usually behind the scenes making everything work and bringing those things together. So great guy, great person to follow. He doesn't social a ton. He's just usually bringing the information directly in sessions. So it's usually just figure out where he's speaking and go listen. He doesn't generate a whole lot of stuff independently on his channel or his social channels. But the well-architected framework, we're going to be talking about that. We'll have 2 workshops going on during the workshop day. Priyanka is one of our teachers during one of the workshops. So she'll be helping with that. We'll be teaching flows, and then I'll be leading a well-architected framework. The well-architected framework is a lot of learn these patterns and practices, learn why to use something in Salesforce and when not to use something. So they're publishing a lot of materials. My favorite is the anti-pattern database. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, and I didn't grab a screenshot of that. Well, that'll be TBD. We may do a whole session on the pattern and anti-pattern database that has a lot of good big picture philosophical information for how to plan. So if you're looking to be a solution architect, this would be a good place to go out and understand. I know I can build it in Apex I want to build it, but why should I or why shouldn't I? Which of these components should I use? Is there a guide out there for me to use big objects versus regular objects versus PostgreSQL storage through Heroku? When do I want to do that? When don't I? So they're starting to build some of that up. That is the end of the slide decks that I stole from TDX. So if you're interested in them, I can find other stuff, but I grabbed the QR code. So if there was anything there, you could check that out. That is the net of my updates. No real big plug on. Just the agenda for meeting, or if you want to go through that,
Agenda for weed removal.
What about it?
Just the agenda, if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'm trying to, it's hard to plug your own stuff. I feel bad about it. Thank you.
I see it. I for a moment there, I was like, well, he just left a big white wall behind him. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, let me, gotta make, don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, no, you are the wizard. Oz. Oz is your new name, if you didn't know it.
I get by with a lot of help from my friends.
And so shall I. I am blessed to have you as my friend and to have had Megan resurrected from the coffin. So I'm explicitly blessed to have you be my friend.
I feel the same way. But yeah, here's
So
the agenda. Some of the panels we're gonna have, hopefully engender some good conversation. Some local SMEs and a lot of traveling ones. Wade's coming in from San Francisco. Ian, I think, is in Seattle. Moyez speaking. Mike Hatch from
Frisco.
Salesforce here. Andy Meadows from Houston. Jitendra Zah.
Oh, that's huge. That's exciting.
Scott Luikard, who's one of the founders of Texas Dreamin'. Chris Zolo, I think, is coming from Florida. Let's see, go to the next day.
scroll back up to Jitendra is attending something in where?
He's speaking at We
Oh,
Dreamin'.
I saw Ian Gotts there, and okay, so he is. Oh, this is the We Dreaming.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
That's
I
all right.
can't quite afford to.
Next year.
Being unemployed and recently laid off, I can't quite do that. I saw Nadia Lisbon.
Nadina, yep.
Nadina Lisbon. I've seen her before.
She's very good. She'll be helping with the well-architected workshops. Katie is coming from Florida also. Eric is coming from Seattle. Chris Fari is in
Oh,
Dallas. Abby Claus is in Dallas.
I wish I could be there.
We'll save a seat for you. I'm not sure where David Giller is coming in from.
I
coming
think
from
he's
Chicago.
out of Jersey.
Okay.
Wow.
Stanton is Chicago as well. And I've got to go fix Katie Rudd's co-speaker for that session. That's my note for tonight. But thanks, Dr. Bose. Yep.
Wow. I really wish I could be there. I'm sorry I can't.
Yeah, I'm excited about the content. I focused hard on content that would be Salesforce and very real world integration, working together with other technologies sessions. I'm still listening to myself, so sorry about study. Okay.
You just keep talking, sir. You're doing well.
Thank you. All right, well, it's about time for me to really stop talk. And what's that? Please feel free to get up and grab food now. That's a great idea. So there should be 2 pepperoni and 3 cheese pizzas.
Pizza.
I have,
I don't have, Paul did not send me a pizza.
to the website, I have a newsletter I can subscribe to.
The website have a newsletter. The We
Yes,
Dream In
yes, go
conference,
get
it
the
doesn't,
pizza.
if you
We
register, I think
have
it puts you on a
pizza
mailing
at
list.
the Alpharetta
but-
Developer Group, which Jitendra Azah
I don't
and
know. I haven't, the
Amit
registration
Chidori
software is new to us,
attend,
so I don't know. that would
and
help.
run actually,
All right.
and they have a penchant for pizza. I do not blame you for getting up for pizza for any reason. Like, I had one last night. Pizza. Right. Somebody is posting in chat. Oh, that's Paul's We Dreaming. Yes, 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 yes.
All right, I'm gonna make you
Pizza.
co-host, Melissa, and that should give you the ability to share. And I think I've got the sharing
Well,
screen up there,
let everybody get their pizza first.
okay.
I want everybody to be comfortable and have their pizza.
Now,
So,
everybody can hear you fine while they're getting food, so up to you.
okay. So I may go back and forth between using my readers and such, but the whole objective of what I'm about to show you is sets and how they don't really, they tell you they work one way, but they don't really explain how that actually works. So hopefully many of you have had experiences in the developer environment. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, hopefully that's screen 1, screen 2, screen 2. Yes, screen 2. So I am going to share my screen with you, and right now what you're looking at is the Salesforce developer blogs, and most of you are all told about sets as a unordered collection. Screw the unordered part, that can be overcome. But elements that do not contain any duplicates. Really? Actually, that's not quite the case. If I go to a different set here and I look at the set class, I can show you what's upsetting is that the documentation is not consistent. So what you see here is the uniqueness of a set is determined by equals and hash code. So what that basically means is that when you iterate through a set, you're not dealing unless you're only putting IDs in, which are absolutely unique. If you aren't iterating through only unique user IDs or IDs of any kind of record, you are not necessarily iterating through a unique set. The only IDs are the only time that you will actually be able to have uniqueness, because record IDs have to be unique. The third thing, and you can find it if you dig deep enough, is that it won't be found anymore. So as you iterate through a set, if you update it and change the values in the fields on the record object, it can be added with the same record ID to the process, to the set. So, for an example, here is my use case. My use case is that, let me write, so my use case, sorry, putting on my readers. In this particular situation, I wanted to count the number of hot, warm, and cold leads associated with an account. So what are the things I needed to do first? First, I needed to, on the account field or on the account record, I needed to create 3 different records: number of cold leads, number of hot leads, number of warm leads. And on the lead object, I needed to create a count lookup that was for the account. So basically you could look up to the account from the lead. And then I needed to figure out how to calculate all that stuff. So I had the 3 fields on the account, the lookup field on the lead, and also to discern this, I needed to create a lead trigger, which you should almost never, ever, ever, ever have. You should never have complexity within a trigger, but I broke all those variations to get you to be able to see how this works. Hang on just a second. I will bring this to the page. It just does not want to work that way. I do not understand why the dev console just likes to minimize itself into like the smallest box
I
possible.
don't know that either. It's crazy.
Like, and showing it in Visual Studio would just be too ridiculously hard. Hang on, it's here. I've got it. It just does not want to move. Okay. All right. So I've already shown you the account fields I had to add and the dev field, or the field on the lead. So this is the lead trigger. And I have created a custom metadata, a record type or custom metadata type, which unfortunately you still cannot change via code. So you have to do that manually. This is my trigger. I should not have all of this, but I'm doing it just to show you what's going on. So basically I'm querying that metadata and I'm saying, am I running sets or am I running maps? And if I'm running maps, run this method in the handler. And if I'm running sets, run this method in the handler. So the handler has two different methods. The first one is lead values, and the second one is set values. It will make a lot more sense when I show you the test class I created. I created this purely as an example, not as a, this is not something I would put into production. So the test class goes through and it sets up the data in the test setup. So it creates two different accounts, and then it loops through and adds 3 leads to each account. Then the test actually test lead account iterates over all of the accounts it's already set up and changes them from hot to warm to cold and stuff. So when you run this initially, the account, so I set up some debug logs, which is always a great thing to do because you want to make sure that you can see what's going on. So I have 2 different accounts and they're each getting populated with 3 leads. So on the first lead, you can see here, it's hot and there are no warm or cold leads. And then on the second one, you can see that it's got a hot lead and a warm lead, but no cold leads. And then on the, notice the ID of the record. These 3 are all the same. These 3 are not the same. They're second account. So you would think that because it's the same account ID, that it shouldn't be inserted again. However, sets actually allow you to add those fields or add those records. So right now we're seeing the same record added 3 different times, or 2 records added 3 different times, but their values are different. So what we come to understand is that the the explanation that is given to us about hashtags, if the object in your map keys or set elements changes after being added to the collection, it won't be found anymore because of changed field values. Therefore, it is not the same record. It is the same record ID, and most people hinge on, okay, add record IDs, blah, 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 blah. But when you are attempting to add the same record, but with different values, sets won't work for you. They won't do it because they're different values. Just a second here, let me get back to this. So they're different values. So if you notice here, when I first introduced this record into the set, it had number of hot leads 1, number of warm leads 0, cold leads 0, but the same record was able to be inserted into that set with the same record ID, but a different value. So the second time I inserted it into that set, I inserted 1 hot lead, 1 warm lead, 0 cold leads. And because I changed a field value, it was not the same record as what we would think from Salesforce.
Can you go to
So-
where you're assigning the
I'm
record?
sorry.
Can you go to where you're assigning the set in your code? I'm not sure I'm following.
Okay, so I don't know who was speaking. I'm sorry
That
if
was
I
Paul,
was.
sorry.
So I have tests set up. I'm creating 2 accounts. And then in my tests, I am creating a new lead. I'm updating the lead to either hot, warm, or cold. And then I'm sending the leads because you have to be on a list. You can't DML a set. So I am adding each of the leads to a list and then updating them.
Okay. Where are you setting the set? That's what I think I'm missing is the set keyword.
Okay, so that's a very good question. So wow, leads, insert leads to. Who am I speaking to?
That's Paul. Sorry, I'm the only one with a mic.
Oh, it's
right now.
Paul. Okay. Hey, Paul. So, so I am updating them as a list because you cannot update or you can't do DML on a set.
Okay.
So in the introspect of this, in my handler is where I'm actually adding them as a set.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
So, basically the trigger or the test class just kind of lets me run the handler. So in my handler, I am initially, oh, wait a second, hang on. There's two different executions of the handler. So the trigger, which is very bad form, either says calculate scores via maps or calculate scores via sets. And in my handler, I have calculate scores via sets. I'm taking in a map with an ID and a new lead map, and I'm querying for that, and I am putting the results of that map into a set. So if I'm running through with sets for leads to check new lead values, the values of the map, not the keys, the values. I am running through the values and I'm saying, hey, look at it. And if this lead has this particular value, mark it this way and change the account value of number of hot leads to plus equals 1. And if it isn't hot, warm plus equals 1. And now, obviously, there's additional things that could be added into this. There are definitely leads that could be changed from hot to cold or whatever. This was just really purely an example. All right, so after you loop through all the leads that have been added, you add them to an account ID set and move that account ID set. Or move is not the right word. Update the account ID set. So if you change this, which I will show you the logs after this. So right now, after having given that explanation, you can see that there are only 2 accounts and that the record sets have 6 different members, but it won't work. It won't work because you have 2 accounts with the same record ID and it just doesn't work. So if you change that, okay, here's my handler. ID is member, account ID set size, and the member, and account record set member. So what you were just seeing is the account, and you'll notice that they don't have the same field values. And then account record set member, they all look the same, don't they? They don't on insertion because they have also all iterated through adding a hot lead, adding a warm lead, adding a cold lead, but there's still only two different account IDs as shown here. And then when you go to insert them, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So the test setup is create an account or create two accounts, iterate through new leads to create different variables on leads. And the test lead count is if test 1 equals hot, or if test 2 equals warm, or whatever, update them. So basically you're trying to, the whole reason that you created a lookup field on the lead object was to be able to give the account object a variable that would count how many hot, warm, or cold leads you have. And in your test, you're giving it hot, warm, and cold leads, but you can't update them as a set. You have to go back and re-update the test. Sorry if this is not, hopefully this is making sense to people.
Yeah, can I see if I can summarize? You may have to
Yeah,
slow down and
feel
dumb it down
free.
for me. So when you're looping over the data and every time you're changing a value inside of a set, it's creating another row element in the set with the same
Exactly.
ID, kind of violating the rules of the set, which is supposed to, if it's a set of leads or set of accounts, it's only supposed to have one reference to that inside of the set. But when you change it, it's creating a duplicate with the new value. And so your set now doesn't obey the rule of sets. And if you try to update that record with the set, you've got two record IDs that you're trying to update in the same DML.
Yes, that is absolutely 100% exactly what I'm talking about. So
Okay, and you explained it really
you
well,
can
because if
add the
I'd
same
understood it,
record to a set, even though it's got the same ID, but because it matches on keys or it matches on fields. So if you add record A and its fields are field 1 with this value, and you add record A again, and field 1 has a totally different value, it completely considers that a different record. However, you won't be able to update them because you have more than one of the same record in the class. So, for an example, so let's see, we went through this initial observation where we could see the same record being added multiple times to the set. So 3 records here and 3 records there, but it does not work if you run it at like, well, we should be seeing an error. So the test run that I ran,
So would it fail actually error, or would it just, with the second?
no, it errors. It
does error.
absolutely errors. And it errors because line 51, update failed. That's not what I want to see. I want to see this one. First exception, cannot insert update activate activate entity duplicate ID in list. So you have 6 of the same IDs, or 3 of each of the same IDs, and you can't update the same ID 3 different times.
Yeah, we got another question.
Yeah, no, feel free. Run
So
in
what
there.
if what if we took it as a list instead of a set? Would we get the same errors?
I'm sorry.
No, if we
I
take a
heard-
list instead of a set, would we get the same errors?
I apologize, but I'm
It's okay.
having audio problems. Can you maybe repeat that, Paul?
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah, and I think that's the whole point is if you're using a set to try and maintain non-duplicate records, that if you update the sets and then try and insert the set as a set, it'll fail because it'll have duplicated the IDs in it. The list doesn't have the deduplication rule. It would let you build up a list with the same record multiple times, but if you tried to insert that list, it would fail because of the duplicates. So she's using a set to avoid duplicates, but has found a way to create duplicates in the thing that's not supposed to allow you to use duplicates. So this is an interesting deep dive in the way sets behaves when you alter the data in a set and try and expect it to still operate as if it's respecting no duplicates.
Thank you, Paul, for being so much able to clarify my brain track. Like, my brain works to understand it, but it also doesn't necessarily explain it quite correctly. I appreciate your help there.
Well, like I
Thank
said,
you.
if you got it to where
I-
I could understand, it was pretty good. I'm glad to add something to it, but it seems like you've done pretty well.
Thank you. Okay,
would-
so how do we correct this? So, so the real way to correct this, and I put both of these handlers in the same handler, which isn't quite great, but if you look at diff checker, yes, if you look at diff checker and compare the code, so one is calculate lead scores via sets, and one is calculate lead scores via maps. If you put these side by side, and I will do that in just a moment, you will see that they actually are the only difference between the two. I shouldn't have done this beforehand. I'm so sorry. Diff checker, why did you not? So the difference between using these two tools, or these two different sets of of information are maps versus sets. And it's a very small change. Basically, a map will never, ever, ever let you have the same record ID in the code. So a map will, what you need to do is you need to query for the map, find it versus a key, and you use that same map that has already been created to evaluate what's going on. So hopefully this shows up. Yes, continuous, Melissa. So no, I don't want to download. Use web version. Because why would anything, wait a second. I just put all this up there. It's live demo.
Live demos.
Because
Can
you
I-
wanted that, right? Like a live demo. So hang on just a second. Control
I've got a quick-
Control C. This is the set class or the set method within my class. And this is the map method that hopefully I can find. Yes, okay. There we go. I might have a few semicolons out of order here, but find the differences. So the differences here are that instead of using a set, which is on the left, I am using a map. And I process all of the accounts and I add it to a map as opposed to a set. And for each set or for each map that I add a record to, I already have to have retrieved the value. Add as a set. So here on the sets on the left, I'm looking at it and I'm saying get the lead check, but I can automatically add other values to the set because the difference, the change in the values makes it a new record. So I'm able to add a set value to that set. So as I showed you, I can have 3 of the same record all added to the set. But if I do this over on a map and I get the lead check with that specific account number, I update it with the new values because it adds it as a map, and you actually can eliminate some code because you're pulling the value from the map, updating the value of that map record, and then changing it to whatever the new value is. You're not instigating another set record. And then you update it at the bottom, the list values. So when you update, you can't do DML on a set. You can do DML on a list, and the values of a map are a list. I'm not sure that made complete sense.
I have a question,
Paul,
but
you seem to be able to summarize my thoughts much better than I can. Did this help?
Yeah, I think,
Oh,
Nathan, you were about to say something?
well, I wanted to ask a question, but I would like to take a stab at the summary here, which is that if you track a set separately from a map, you're adding extra effort because the set is ultimately the IDs in the map. So from the map, you can extract a unique set of identifiers. I think of it like, and I find this really interesting, and I wanted to look at another page you had open, but I have never stored an object in a set. And I saw some documentation where there might be a cool way to do it. If it was like the web page of the set documentation that you had, if you can find it. If you can't find it, it's okay.
oh no, I
Okay,
have
so
this
if you
stuff up.
scroll down just a little bit, this idea of
There's
equals and a
actually
hash
three
code.
different, part of the problem is that there are three different conversation about sets.
Okay,
So here's the Apex
the-
developer guide. Here's the Apex reference guide. Here is another version of the Apex developer guide. And it doesn't like explain it explicitly, if that makes sense. So one of the things that I didn't show you, and I really wish I had, was, so I set up custom metadata. Go away, go away. Why are you messing with me? Stupid computer. So I set up my trigger to run either via sets or via and this is probably why I don't have an opportunity yet in the making, because I have a I know what's going on here, but I can't necessarily explain it very well.
You're doing fine. I think we're following along with you.
I'm sorry. Okay, so what I set up a custom metadata for my trigger to run, either versus run sets or run maps. So right now I have it set up to run sets. Let's set it to run maps. So if I run the code via maps, we will get a whole different experience. So right now we have a test run that shows us this. But if we run it again, a new run on that, thankfully this runs so quickly. I'm really happy it runs quickly. But I'm in a developer org, so like I don't have a lot of test data to run on. But if we look at this test run after I changed it to maps. Come
Click the success one.
on,
Click the top one.
you know you want to open test run 652.
Nope, click the top one, not the bottom one. And the
I'm
logs?
sorry, I hear people talking and I apologize. It's so
In
quiet.
the logs. With the logs tab, click the top one, the unread. Double click.
I'm looking at the wrong log. Sorry,
Yeah.
hang
There it
on.
is.
Debug only. So if you see this on if you run it as maps, you see the same data being injected, but you don't see the insertion issue because it has iterated through all those accounts, and the accounts now have one warm lead, one hot lead, one cold lead, each of them, but it's only attempted to insert 2 of those accounts, as opposed to, let's see. So initially, we can see the same accounts exist, but it's attempting to inject or update, whatever you want to call it, 3 of the same accounts at the same time, or 2 of the same accounts with 3 different values at the same time. So if you run it with maps, because you've queried or you have gotten the same map of that same account, you are not, you're updating the same record, as opposed to here where you're updating another record value in a set. I am so sorry if this does not make sense.
No, it's good.
I-
I think I followed it. And I
I,
can tell a true developer when they do a bake-off with their own code and write 2 versions of a method side by side to see which one runs the right way.
Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great,
Okay.
Nathan.
Melissa, is it still quiet?
Yeah, no, I'm here
Okay.
alone in my house. Like
Okay,
I have nothing going on. So
okay.
feel
So-
free to like yell at me, because for some reason sound is just not going great. But
Okay, no, what I see as an opportunity, Paul had asked me to talk a little bit about wrappers. And there's an opportunity I see with the documentation that I was asking about that talks about making a hash code or making an equals function. So you could actually load multiple accounts into a wrapper class, have some kind of a hash code function, and this is just what it looks like. And the reason I preface that with, I have never put an actual object in a set, because it's always been my fear. So it's really cool to learn how it works behind the scenes and what happens when you put objects in sets. But I think this is cool because Paul said, come up with ideas for wrapper classes and what they can do. And I didn't even know about this or think about it, but you could make a wrapper class, you could make an equals method, it looks like, and then that would let the set know that these 2 are equivalent, so only load 1. So that's an opportunity I see. That's all I wanted to say. So,
okay, so I cannot find the tab you were on. I do not know
It's the
who
third
is
one.
speaking to me.
the
I
third tab at the
apologize.
top. It's okay.
But that's actually one of the things that is an issue. So you can say equals, and I think I have this tab up here.
It was that.
So
Third
right
one.
here, it says you can determine by equals in hash code methods, but if your values change. So in this particular case, I was updating a record and the values changed, which means it will never be equal if the values change.
Got it. So don't access an object in a set after it's in the set. That would be rule number 1, right?
Right, yeah, like
Okay,
you can, and that's why the alternative was a map, because your map, when you update it, is always going to be the newest version of that. But you have field A, B, and C, and if you're not adding just a new record ID, and you're changing the same record ID that already exists in the map, and giving one of the fields, anyone, like any of the 800 fields you could possibly have on an object, a different value, it is not going to go through the equals or the hash code because it's different. It is not the same. So you are adding the same record with a different value to your class, to your whatever set, whatever.
Record set, yeah. Your
Yes,
object.
object. Because it's an object, it is not treated the same as record ID. So I guess my point is, most people think that everything you're dealing with is an unordered collection of elements that do not contain any duplicates. No, that is only true if you are only using IDs. And quite frankly, most people, I transitioned to Lightning about 5 years ago, but your 15-digit ID versus your 18-digit ID, 2 different things.
Okay.
Totally could be in the same set.
Yeah, when did
I'm
the
sorry.
18-digit ID come out?
I just continued to ramble. Hopefully that made a lot of sense.
I was about to try and land on that. That did make sense to me. So the 18-digit ID came out fairly recently, the unique identifiers?
Yeah. Well, you have to use 18 digits if you're in Lightning, but you don't have to use them if you're in Classic.
18 digits is case insensitive and 15 digits is case sensitive.
It's been,
And if you
Okay.
put 18 digits in a set with 15, they are 2 different strings. So they become 2 set elements. So you either have to translate from 15 to 18 or 18 to 15, which is possible. But I think that list of rules for 2 things that equal is like, if you have IDs that are 18 and 15, I think there was something in there that's like, they must be like symmetrical or similar. I don't know. There were like 5 different things. So like you have a responsibility if it's coming 18 from one source and 15 from another source, make them one or the other, and then put it in the set, and they have to match style or format or something.
I quite honestly, I would say that the using 18 digits nowadays is like the way to go.
yeah, it wasn't before.
I mean, why even backtrack to 15 digits? And there's a, I don't have it up, but there is a translator. And what I find hysterical is that, like, you can put out a 15-digit ID and it can be translated to 18, but you can't go backwards. And yeah, so. I think I might have just figured out how to find y'all. I do not know why I have no idea why I can't actually see y'all talking.
It's a Zoom thing.
Yeah, when you
It's
go
a
full
Zoom
screen
thing,
share,
yeah, it
My
is.
client has Zoom and it happens all the time where they're like, I don't see anything. All I know is I'm sharing my screen. I don't, oh,
Like,
you have to like move your mouse all the way to the top until something appears.
okay, so
multi-monitor with
I'm
Zoom
going
is the way
to
to
stop
go.
sharing. Oh, hey, there's Paul. He has a great background picture as well.
No, that's
Hi.
me. I'm Nathan.
That, yeah, Nathan has the background.
I have the sunset
Oh,
also.
no, Nathan, sorry. I'm sorry.
Paul has a wall.
Paul and Nathan both,
We're,
you all are sporting the same hairstyle.
we are twins from another planet or something. Bizarro
I
twins.
spent like 3 hours last night listening to Elon Musk talk about just random shit. And I would never have ever have guessed, like, it just blew my mind. So anyway, that's random. So
That's cool.
Paul has kids in class, not kids. Okay. Fuck, I'm getting old. Yes, kids in class.
We're in a
Um,
classroom. I don't know that there's any kids.
People over the age of 18, but under the age of 40, I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm,
I don't know
I'm
why you need to
so sorry.
stereotype people.
I apologize. They
Just
all
having
look
fun.
like youngins to me, except for one particular person. But I like, hopefully I explained some stuff.
Yeah, no,
And
that's cool. The maps, lists, and sets are really a bread and butter data structures for Apex. And if you're using them, this weird quirk is a nice thing to know about. And I
yeah,
don't use sets for anything, and you explained it well enough that I could understand. So
I think you could
yeah,
have called
no,
it,
you look at the documentation and you think that it's all going to be like, there's no way there could be a duplicate until you find out that there's a duplicate when you're trying to do something and you're running through debug logs and you're like, wait, what the fuck?
yeah. Yeah, I can see this causing me hours worth of troubleshooting before I give up and try and write in a JavaScript.
Yeah, and we don't want to use JavaScript if we don't have to, because variables in JavaScript raise up and float if you're not doing it properly. JavaScript scares the shit out of me.
Cool. Well, anybody, before we transition to Nathan's wrapper class, anybody have any questions about sets for Melissa? I think everybody's got it. Okay.
I saw one person move. I feel like I hate to be so boring. So I apologize. I remember being there in a class like that where I was just like, so I love you all. Thank you for listening to me ramble on. I hope things made sense. And yeah, I'm just gonna shut my little camera here.
you
Thanks, Melissa.
disappeared
Appreciate
and
it.
then the camera went off. That was cool.
Like I said, if you made it clear
do
enough for
that.
me to understand, I think you got to a couple other people too. So
Well, thank God. And also thank Salesforce for giving me the ability to just close my camera on and off. Yeah, I'm done.
I have
I'm
got to
putting
learn how to
myself
do
on
that.
mute.
I- Is it like
Thanks,
you
Melissa.
just cover the camera and you disappear? Like, am I disappearing?
Yep, you are.
Awesome.
Zoom and sets 101.
Well, I mean, let's see, what do we have? 7 minutes? How about this? Oh, I'm not allowed to share.
I will fix that.
What I'm gonna do is talk about what I would talk about in 5 minutes, and then we can discuss whether this is something you want to learn next month.
Okay.
Probably, I think is probably best, but I put something together that is on screen one. Okay, so you
You have
see,
enough time to get it approved before next month.
yeah, let's just vote if you ever want to learn about this or not, okay? So, hi, I'm Nathan. I like to do like code, sometimes Salesforce code, which is typically LWC these days. Let me just explain what my goal was here. Paul said, talk about wrappers. With a W,
Oh,
not music, and music wrappers. So I had this goal where I thought, okay, what can I do to build a wrapper? A wrapper is something that will combine two different sources of data, and then it will send it to your component, and your component has a nice, clean, single list of results that contains all this combined and processed data. And it was used in the past for a lot of different things. Like in Visualforce pages, you could add a checkbox or something like that. And then if you check it, it goes back. But it's essentially like, instead of passing records to the component, you can make a custom class where you can pass lots of additional information to it. And so I have this fake app that I built. One time I built it for real because I actually had to track subscriptions to software for the IT department, and when do they renew, let legal know 90 days in advance, stuff like that. And so
we
I
take a
thought,
poll here real fast. How many of you have worked with wrapper classes in Apex? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good deal.
cool, because I can't see hands. All right. So I thought, what could be fun to combine? I looked at a list of free open APIs, so I didn't have to sign up for anything. And I found something pretty cool that creates fake data. I wanted to use credit cards and make a call out and then just say, this is the credit card I used for this subscription, and have it come back. But something really weird happened when I tried to convert it to a wrapper class, and it ended up looking like this. If you can see this at all, I'm trying to zoom in. What's wrong with Zoom? Okay, if you can see this wrapper class, it's a little bit nuts. And it's because the result from the API uses reserved words in Apex. So you have to write almost like code around code to do it. So what I ended up using was the faker for people, which makes a very pretty class. And I would almost want to say this is your first wrapper class called people. And then what I did was I made this is the class I ended up using. There are results, but then what I wanted to do was make a new property where I pass in, take the email that you get and pass in a masked email. And the end result looks like, I'm just going to skip straight to the end result. And then you can say, I may have to do that one day. I wish I knew how. And I would love to show you. This is my component called subpeoples. And what it does is it takes my wrapper class and then it combines a random name from the faker call out, and then it chooses one of my software subscriptions, and then it tells you who loves which software. So you see like, oh, and then this, I don't know if you all have Instagram, but my sister keeps sending me these videos where it's like, these are lemurses, these are dogses and catses. So I say typed resultses and untyped resultses, but you can see that using this wrapper class, I'm getting just one nice little array back and then sending the stuff to the screen. So if that sounds fun to you, and I think typed and untyped Apex class management is a really interesting topic and can potentially save you a lot of code and time if you learn the tricky untyped Apex. So that's the topic. That's the end result. That was my project.
Can I assert the definition of a wrapper class? I think whenever we've talked about it before, you suggested as a solution for a pretty simple problem that I had. And I'm going to stop echoing myself.
I would
So
say,
when
Oh,
you're
go ahead.
working with variables inside of Apex, you have limited types, and it's usually if you're pulling back, you're creating a list or a collection or a map, it's of a type of object that exists. For example, account. An account has certain fields. So when you're creating a variable for an account, it has the same definition as the account object. It'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 fields. If you need to take that data and say, okay, these are my top 4 accounts by spend, and I want to order them on the screen by 1, 2, 3, 4, there's no variable for order inside of the account object. In your 4 fields, one of them isn't which one is number 1 based on that result set. So you would need to create an expanded variable that was account plus another ordinal, which number it was in the rank variable, and that's what a wrapper class would be. So it's an object variable plus some extra data that you can loop over, work with, parse, and send to other places with that enhanced elements to it. That set me for a loop whenever I was trying to do some of my first code, and Nathan kind of set me straight on what wrapper classes would be. And it was over my head at the time, so I walked away from it and I wrote it in JavaScript. But I've always wanted to come back and learn that. So is that fair, Nathan, or did I screw that definition up?
No, I think that's really good. I mean, I just think of it as like records when they come in, you can't really modify them in Apex. And I get what you're saying. You can modify them in JavaScript, which I've done in certain occasions, but it's really nice to get all your data on the server and then add the information you need that isn't necessarily a formula. It may not even come from the same class. It could come from an external website, and you put it all together and you're building a whole new structure that you will then send to your page that your component can consume. There is a second, I mean, there are actually a lot of different things about wrapper classes, but another cool thing you can do, you can create a structured, a structure that you expect, like let's say you fill out a form with a Lightning Web Component and you have like 5 different fields you filled out. You can build the object in JavaScript, and then when you make your Apex call to your controller, the controller is expecting a very specific structure from your component, and it's like something that you can use to submit forms as well. And there are actually some really good websites on it. I would recommend looking at Force Talks. I thought that was very comprehensive and cool. And then SFTC Point had a good article too. Some of them go into Visual Force, which it's not as likely that you would be building in Visual Force, but it's nice to be aware of the history of the wrappers. But I would say those are 2 major cases. And then, you know, I would add this new example. If you have something that is, you know, let's say an object or some other class, and you need to define like what makes one record equal another, put it into a set, you can build a wrapper and then add that equals or the hash code method that a set will expect. And then the set can have 2 objects and know which 2 are unique and only have 1 in the set. So, I mean, there's really cool stuff you can do with it. I love wrappers. So does my son, but with no W. Back
I
to
love
my first
M&Ms.
joke.
Both candy.
He's a huge rapper fan.
and-
Okay, that's it. 8:02.
All right, any
Thank you.
questions? This is an extremely nerdy deep dive. Nerdy is a compliment, one of the highest in my book, so that's how you should take it. Any questions for Nathan? Nathan is a developer at Salesforce. We are lucky to have him, although you can't have a Nathan presentation without some kind of meme representation. So you have to deal with that. Wouldn't be a Nathan demo without it.
Or dad jokes.
That's both of us, my friend. Any questions? I have multiple microphones, so please don't be shy. That's what we're here for. Anybody just stunned in silence? So we usually go pretty heavy architect, but I like to keep everybody guessing and going deep dev in this developer group. So
Hey,
I'm excited to
Nathan.
have dev stuff.
Yes.
Um, besides the point that we both have great sunset pictures.
Where's yours from?
That's actually, December 18th, 2018, Punta Gorda, Florida.
Mine is Pleasanton, California, the day before COVID became a big thing of March 10th of 2020. That was the
Okay.
day before. It was, to me, it was an ominous sign. In
Oh.
retrospect.
Wow. So
I think yours
Um,
is good, positive.
Paul was gracious enough to introduce me to Wade, and I actually will be presenting a developer group meeting about what it's like to interview with Salesforce. I got told today I am no longer being considered, which
Sorry.
Their loss.
it's terrible,
They
but
told me
it's
that.
also
They've told me that too before.
What?
They told me that too also before.
So what I was gonna say is, can we connect outside of the group?
Of course.
I would very much appreciate that and enjoy the opportunity to speak to you.
Well, what about
So-
me? I've been rejected by Salesforce 3 times.
Oh, it's only my first time.
Yeah.
Inaugural opportunity. um,
It's the
But it
mothership.
is
We
what it
all
is.
want to go there.
I
So
I would love to talk when we're not recording.
yes. So
yeah.
yes, let's have a conversation. I will send you my information via the chat if Paul
I'll connect
lets
you guys.
the conversation go on long enough for me to do that.
Okay.
All right. If we don't have any other questions,
Thanks.
I'm gonna stop the recording before you guys get me fired from being a user group leader.
What did we say? Did you stop yet?
I'm stopping it before. Okay.
What did we